Hi, happy Thursday. I am so glad to be back filming a reading vlog for you guys. So it's been a while since I filmed one of these and I keep starting and just not getting anywhere. But this morning I saw that Sarah from Sarah Day Reads on Instagram is hosting a read and rot long weekend readathon. It's not actually a holiday weekend or anything. She just decided to start it on Thursday. And I decided to participate, and I have already finished one book that I was in the midst of reading and I'm halfway through another, and this just feels like the perfect time to start vlogging again. So I'm currently in the middle of Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, and I'm having a great time. I was able to snag the audiobook off of Libby, and I thought that would help with the podcast element, but I kind of don't like they keep putting music over it, but because I don't listen at one time speed, it sounds bad. And I don't really care to hear the voices of the different townspeople, so I think I might switch to just reading it physically. But I'm having such a good time with it and being able to keep going while I'm doing other things that it's hard to put the audio down. So we'll see, but definitely going to finish this weekend. Now, I have been reading thrillers basically nonstop for the last 2 weeks, and it's been great. So I think I'm going to keep going with that for my TBR. I know I also really want to read Mayfly by CJ Lead. I only read 2 chapters of this, and it's phenomenal. The first chapter, my jaw was open because of the punchy writing. I just really, really like it. I did grab a copy from my library. This is a library copy physically, but I also grabbed an e-copy from the library because I really want to go to the pool this weekend, and I am not brave enough to take a library book down there. So I will be reading this. And then I know I will probably be able to fit one more book in, and I have quite the stack of potentials. So let me show you. In the continued mystery thriller vein, I have 4 books that have been on my TBR all year long and have shown up in Instagram posts and things, so we'll see. I've got Bad Men by Julie May Cohen. This is about a woman who's a serial killer and she kills bad men. And I think either a podcast host or agent or something that's also her boyfriend. Okay, so sorry, I had to look at the synopsis again because I was mixing this up, because not all of these, 3 of the books I'm reading right now, these 2 books have podcast elements in them, and then I'm reading one that has a podcast element in it, and my brain is a little jumbled on what does what. And this one, I started this already, maybe a week and a half ago, and I just wasn't quite ready for it yet, but I think I am now, because it opens with her killing her stepfather for trying to touch her little sister, and he has been doing that to her for a long time and has now kind of outgrown her, which is gross on so many levels, that he's even doing it, obviously. And then the fact that he's just you're too old now. So anyway, opens with a bang there, was great. She kind of just continues doing that as she grows up. She just keeps taking out shitty men. She ends up dating this podcast host eventually, and he is accused of murdering his ex-wife, I think, or ex-girlfriend, but he claims he didn't do it. So could he be her next victim? Maybe. Or does she help him get proven innocent? Who knows? None of This Was True was such a huge book last year, and I'm one of those people that when a book gets too hyped before I read it, I often will wait for that hype to die down. Not I need to ride the wave with everybody or not at all, but because I didn't want everyone screaming, yelling, telling me it was so good to cloud my judgment of the book and for me to judge it too harshly if it didn't hit for me. So I decided to wait, and so I think this is also going to be on the list. This is about a woman who is also a podcast host, and a stranger runs into her at a bar or something because they are both celebrating their birthday. They're birthday twins, I think, down to the day and year, I'm pretty sure. And the stranger has a lot of crazy things happening in her life, and the podcast host is trying to figure out how much of that is true. Should there be a stranger danger situation? I haven't looked too much into this because I just want the book to happen to me. I feel like anytime I look up a synopsis of a Leaf Jewell book, there's inadvertently a big spoiler or giveaway in the synopsis, even though it's unintentional, I think, and I just didn't want that to happen, so that's all I know. Then we have We Spread by Ian Reid. He wrote I'm Thinking of Ending Things and Foe, both books I really enjoyed. This follows a elderly woman who starts having accidents in her apartment, and I think she lives in the UK, and I'm pretty sure her NHS person recommends that she moves into a assisted living facility so that she can have help because she doesn't really have anyone to come check in on her at her home. and she starts losing her memory, and they just assume that it's, dementia or Alzheimer's, one of the two, but she thinks something else is going on. And then lastly, Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I just know that this is about a group of octogenarians who get together for book club and somebody dies and now they solve crimes together. I have a thing for cozy mysteries that have some stakes to them and aren't like the cutesy cozy mysteries. And I love when there's a group of elderly or soon to be elderly people at the forefront of them, showing everybody that their life isn't over. So there are those. If I change my mind and decide that I do want romance, I have these two. I read Icebreaker last month. I didn't love it. My friends keep telling me I'm going to love Wildfire. I've also read the first chapter of this, wasn't in the mood, put it down. Didn't want to give the book unfair judgment. This follows Russ and Aurora, who are Maple Hill students, so set in the same universe as Icebreaker, and Russ is actually the teammate of Nate from the first book. They have a one-night stand at a end of the year party held at the hockey house, and then they both end up as counselors at the same summer camp, and then we see them from there. And then there's Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I've been told this is going to wreck me, and I am not a person who gets emotionally wrecked by books very often, so I'm excited for that possibility. This is... I don't honestly even know what this is about, if I'm being quite honest. I've read the synopsis about 8 times over the last year. I don't know what this is about, and I don't think I need to know, so I'm not even gonna... If you want to know, you can look it up. You have access to the internet. You're watching this. So those are the possibilities for this Read and Rot. What a great name. Sarah, shout out to you. Phenomenal name. Because I enjoy a couch rot, but I think I'm really determined to have some pool rot time. Like just snacks, bevies, and my cooler, and just, I can't wait. I should charge my Kindle now while I'm thinking about it. So without further ado, let's get into the vlog. Hi, happy Friday. I look a mess, but those are the vibes of Read and Rot this weekend. I finished Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, and it was so good. I ended up continuing to listen to the audiobook, even though I had mentioned how I wasn't loving the format of like the sound design around the podcast, but honestly, I didn't want to stop reading, and that was my only choice to not stop reading, and you know what? It was fine. I'm going to rate it 4.5 stars. I loved everything about it. I loved Lucy's grandma. She was the best catalyst for getting our story forward without it feeling super forced. Maybe because she reminds me a bit of my own grandmother in some ways anyway. I didn't see the plot twist coming. Like I knew, let's rewind. I don't know if I told you what this book is about. So we're following Lucy who, when we meet her, is living in LA with her boyfriend who is just so oblivious to everything. And she's in LA to escape her small Texas hometown because 5 years ago, her best friend was murdered and she was at the scene of the crime or seen walking away from it, covered in blood with no memory of what happened. And now her grandmother's turning 80, is begging her to come back to town for her 80th birthday party. And Lucy can't say no to her, so she goes back. And when she gets back, or before she even goes back, she finds out that there's this guy, Ben, who's in town right now, doing a podcast about her story in Savannah's story. Savannah is her best friend who passed away. Everyone in the town thinks Lucy did it, with the exception of her grandmother. And Lucy can't tell them whether she could or couldn't, because she still can't remember all of these years later. And we just slowly start to piece together what happened, kind of via the podcast, and then also via Lucy intentionally going back to some key places from that night to try to jog her memory of what was going on. This was a lot. Like there was just so much to the story, but it was handled all very well. There is some content warnings for domestic abuse and alcoholism, and I'm sure some other things. The pacing was done really well. I liked that for the most part, no one was likable except Grandma, which was kind of nice. Lucy had very self-deprecating humor the entire time and was very sarcastic and sometimes kind of glib and flippant, which could set some people off. But honestly, I get it, because if you spend your adult life being told that you're a murderer, even though, and you have no way of proving whether you were or not, and there are all these things going on, and she had her own storyline going on that we saw in the past with her and Savannah that made you question some things along the way, but it was so good. I had a great time. I do feel like we spent a lot of time hearing how Lucy doesn't remember, and she doesn't remember. Is she even trying? Oh, she doesn't remember. And I just feel like I was being beaten over the head with it a little bit. like, obviously it's a big part of the story, the fact that like she's an eyewitness and she can't remember anything, right? Like, we're like, that's a big part, and I expect it to be brought up. But there was a point around the, let's call it the third act of the story, where it just kept being brought up, and it's like, yeah, I've been with you for 200 plus pages. I know she can't remember. Like, I get it, and I get that she's trying. So like, I would have rather them focused on, I don't know, maybe Ben's suspicions for the podcast. Because, like, obviously when you're doing a true crime podcast about a unsolved story, usually the last couple episodes, they're interviewing people, and then the host usually speculates on whether they think the, you know, number one suspect should be the number one suspect, or they think someone else should. And it just felt like instead of leaning into that, we just leaned more into Lucy, which wasn't necessarily bad. But again, just the way that they just kept beating us over the head about her lack of memory was a little much. So I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5 because of that. And again, I didn't love I don't know that I'll judge the stars of the book off the audiobook, but for the audio experience, I would also give it 4.5 because of the sound design. There have been plenty of books that have a podcast insert into them via audio that I didn't mind, like the sound choices around. And I think it's because they were intentional about the music they chose so that it would sound fine, whether the person's listening at like 1 time speed or 2 or 2.5. And that just wasn't the case with this one. So I have a little bit more work to do for the next hour, and then I'm going to take my lunch break. And I think on my lunch, I'll figure out what book I want to start next and maybe give you an update on what that's about. Hi, happy Saturday. I am very sleepy, but glad to be awake, enjoying some sunshine by the window. I need to figure out what's next though, because I feel like if I let myself only lean into the rot side of this readathon, there won't be much reading getting done. So I have so many options. And so I think I might do like a little try a chapter situation. Okay, so I got the lovely surprise of the Dial Press sending me a NetGalley widget for Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, which is crazy. That book doesn't come out until like November. I'm so excited. I really kind of want to like have that jump ahead and skip everything, but I feel like that's a bad decision. There's another girl that I follow on Instagram who also got it. And so I kind of want to message her and be like, hey, do you want to buddy read this so that we have people to scream about it with, since like we can't just openly do that. So I may wait on that. I really do want to read Mayfly. I started it earlier in the week, and that just the words in that first chapter were so good. And so I'm like, no, I need to keep going with that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll get part of the way into Mayfly and see if I'm vibing with it this morning. And then if I'm not, then maybe I'll do a try a chapter, because I also have Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. This came out last week and it's just sitting here. I had been waiting for this book for so long, highly anticipating it, and it's finally here, and I just like didn't immediately pick it up. I don't quite know why, but like I'm a little hesitant. It's also my book club's pick for the month, and we typically don't meet until the first week of the next month, so we probably won't meet until, actually we're not meeting the week of 4th of July, so it'll be the week after. So I kind of wait till closer to the end of the month to read this, just so like all the details are fresh in my mind for discussion. I also started Bad Men a week or two ago. I only read the first chapter or two, and I liked it, but the tone of this one was a lot darker. And I like dark stories, but I tend to read dark romance rather than just like general dark fiction. And I just wasn't in a place for that, but I might be. I've been reading so many mystery thrillers, and I know Mayfly is going to be a lot. I think there's some splatterpunk in that. So I think these two are it. Also because I would really like to go to the pool today, and I have e-copies of both of these books so that I don't have to take them down physically to the pool. I can take the Kindle. It's water resistant. It'll be good. So I'm going to eat some breakfast and start in on Mayfly, and then I will give you guys an update probably before I head down to the pool. Quick update. I read a literal chapter of Mayfly. I can't focus up here in my apartment, so I'm finally packed, ready to go down to the pool and hopefully get a significant chunk of reading done. I'm hoping that there's like no one down there. It's only noon. It's also only 88 degrees, which is kind of wild for Dallas right now. So I'm hoping to take advantage of a comfortable pool day and maybe be down there. Let's see, it's 12:05. Maybe stay down there till 3-ish. We'll see how we feel. If it gets too hot, I'll probably come back upstairs, but I think some just like locked in reading time. I also have the audiobook for Mayfly, so I might pop my AirPods in while I'm laying in the chair and see if that helps me like really get into it, because I feel like the tone of the book started off with a very good bang of her like just judgment of men in general, and now we're seeing her. I don't think I told y'all what this book is about, actually, now that I say all this. And to be quite honest, I don't really know what it's about. I just know she's a serial killer. I have heard rumblings that there's a hockey player love interest in this, and I was like, dark hockey romance is a twist for this cover. I don't think that's literally what this is about, but like it's a fun riff, if you will. But Mayfly she works at Disneyland. She works at Disneyland. Now, I can't say that on paper, right? Because you don't want to get sued. But she's one of the sisters from Frozen as a Disney princess. And she goes to like some of the shitty dive bars around with the other Disney princess that she works with frequently, who I think she's Elsa and the other one's Anna. Or maybe vice versa. I can't remember. I've never watched Frozen. I don't fucking know. But they're close, and her co-worker's brother has come into town to like move back to town or move to town for the first time. And I think they're supposed to hit it off. Yeah, Gideon Green, her best friend's brother, moves to town. Says he awakens something dangerous within her, and the world she knows suddenly shifts beneath her feet. Untethered Maeve ditches her discontented act and tries on a new persona, a bolder, bloodier one inspired by the pages of American Psycho. Step aside, Patrick Bateman. It's Maeve's turn with a knife. So I'm interested. I've never read American Psycho, haven't seen the movie, so reference-wise, that means absolutely nothing to me, but I have heard that this book is absurd in a good way, and just like a good time if you can just like be along for the ride, which is definitely the energy I'm trying to bring. So time to go down to the pool and hopefully get a solid 30-40% into this book. And you know, if it's not vibing, I'm like 800 other options on my Kindle, but of what I had initially planned for this readathon, plenty of options. So you will see me in scenes from the pool. I'm not bringing my camera down there, but we'll get some shots of my phone so you can see what the vibes are, and we'll catch up this afternoon. Hey, what's up? Hello, back with an update. I had a great time at the pool. Got maybe 120 pages into Mayfly. I think I'm going to put it down for the rest of the weekend. It's not bad. It's just not moving at the pace I need it to. And I like weird books, but this one's just really strange. And like, I just don't feel like I'm getting much payoff for the strange. And so I don't want it to slow down my reading for the weekend. So I'm going to put it away. I did grab One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware from the library. Like, I put it on hold forever ago and got access to it this week. So I started listening to that actually as I was just going to pick up some food. And I really like the vibe. It's a island thriller that's like 5 couples go to compete on this brand new reality show for this new network. And it's supposed to be like Love Island crossed with Survivor, I think is how it's pitched. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was the new Ruth Ware, so I just grabbed the audio. And so far I like it. The couple that we are at least initially introduced to is Lila. She's a scientist and she has been working on a failed experiment. Like, her job was to come into a university and essentially like do retesting on someone's hypothesis and try to expand it to other things. And it just turned out that the guy who left that hypothesis there, because he got picked up by another university for like more money and stuff, was just apparently just full of shit. And so she's just discovered that, which means she's going to be out of a job because there isn't more science to experiment with, at least in this general hypothesis. And then her boyfriend is an aspiring actor whose life is kind of going nowhere, and she's been footing the bill for their life for the last 2 years of their relationship. And so I don't know, they seem like they're at their wits' end, and he thinks this is going to be his big break. And since she knows she's going to lose her job anyway, she's like, yeah, I'll come with you to do that. And that's as far in as I am right now. Nothing's really happened. I think that's what's on the back of the book. I don't think there's any spoilers there. Yeah, I'm enjoying the pacing of this one already, and like just the general tone. This is a longer audiobook. It's like 13 and a half hours. I listen on 2x speed though, so it won't take that long, but that is kind of long for a thriller, but I'm excited. I also got some book mail. I'll open this up. This first one, I know exactly what it is. I won an Instagram giveaway from Megan Reed. She was giving away an arc of This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. So excited to read this. This is lesbian vampires in the 1920s, and that's all I needed to know. In 1926, and reapers are growing stronger everywhere. Created centuries ago by cruel medical experiments, these once human vampires are driven to attack without mercy. Those who protect the city from them hold more power than ever, or than even the organized criminals who run the nightclubs. As the reluctant heir to her father's reaper hunting empire, Elise Saint knows that the Harlem Reapers want her dead. Among them is Layla Quinn, who lost her parents, the protection of the Saints, and her humanity the night she was turned into a Reaper, and and she'll never forget how Elise Saint betrayed her. A wave of mysterious killings shocked the city, forcing Elise and Layla to work together to find out if some Reapers are turning human again or becoming even deadlier. As their investigation takes them from glittering parties to gangster underworlds, the two must confront their complicated feelings for each other. For a new kind of evil is on the rise, one that will destroy Reapers and humans alike if they don't stop it. I love a enemies to lovers, forced proximity, we have to work together for the greater good style setup. I love that. I can't wait to start this. This comes out in August, I think. Yeah, this says August 2024. I'm not sure the exact date, but that's, a month and a half from now till August, which is kind of nuts to say, but I can't wait. Thank you so much, Megan, for hosting that giveaway. I can't believe I won. That's so exciting. And then the other box, I also know, it's my Probably Smut book club box. And this month is Crossroads by Devney Perry. I've actually never read a book by Devney Perry, which is kind of wild, if we're being quite honest, because I read a lot of KU romance and she's like one of the big ones. But it also took me like 3 years to read a Catherine Cole's book as well. And I feel like Devney Perry is kind of in the same vein as her. So Crossroads is the first book in a new series. I have no idea what it's about, but it's Devney Perry. So there will be people in the mountains, love interests, will they, won't they, someone's in danger, other half of the couple has to rescue them. The end. So that's what's going on there. I am going to eat my dinner. I say dinner, it's like 4:13. I didn't eat lunch while I was down at the pool. I took a bunch of water with me and just kind of vibed there. And I took some crackers and stuff. Didn't end up eating them. Wasn't really hungry. And then I came back up here and I was like, oh, I am ravenous. I need to eat. So, yeah, what are you going to do? I don't know if I'm going to read anymore tonight. Maybe I'll listen to some more Ruth Ware. I'm watching the College World Series right now, baseball. And so I might leave that on mute and just keep listening for a little bit. But I'm trying to be better about listening to my brain and not forcing certain activities to happen. And also the U.S. swim trials for the Olympic swim team started today. I watched the preliminaries this morning a little bit, and I know there are some finals and some more prelims tonight. So I don't know. It might just be a sports girl evening, and I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that? Maybe I'd feel more pressed if I hadn't already finished 2 books for this readathon, but I'm just not, and I don't want to put myself into a slump by trying to overproduce a reading experience. So we're just gonna vibe out, see how things go. Hi, happy Sunday. None of the books I had on my TBR were really calling to me, so I went with my old faithful when nothing else was working and read a mafia romance because, of course, I read Dom in this series last year, I think, or maybe it was earlier this year. I don't know, but it's the 3rd book in the series. This is the first, so I'm just going back to catch myself up. This was good. I had a good time. It was very fast-paced. It wasn't as, I would say not as detailed as Dom, but it's hard to explain what I mean by that without giving stuff away. There's just this, the series is called the Alliance series because there's an alliance between these families. And since this is the first book, you're just getting the baseline of it, but you can kind of tell that S.J. Tilly wasn't sure what it was going to be yet because Nero just kind of repeats the same thing several times. But I really liked his relationship with Peyton. I don't know. It was fine. There was a little bit of dramatics, but nothing too crazy. But at the same time, it felt like there just wasn't a crescendo there. I don't know. I appreciated how easily they loved each other and that was the sticking point for the through line. And so now I'm going to read the next book. I'm literally going to start right now. The next book is about King, and the 3rd book, Dom, his youngest sister is the heroine in that book. So I kind of already know what's going to happen with him a little bit, but not really. I do appreciate that these are interconnected standalones that you can read really in any order from what I found so far. And while you can tell sometimes who people are going to be with, you don't really know much about their story until you get to their book. So I really don't know what's going to happen. I just know that King's going to find his wife. And then maybe we'll get some of his sister because his sister's going to be in the 3rd book, which I've read. So I'll skip and then go on to Hans after that. That's book 4. But that's all I got for you. I'm just rotting on the couch. I don't really know what else to tell you. Maybe I'll finish King today and be able to tell you about it before this video goes up, but this series is fun. I like it. It's not overly grotesque for a mafia romance, which is great. So if you're new to the genre and you kind of want to dip your toes in, not a bad place to start. So the Read and Route Readathon was a great success for me. It is now Tuesday and I am finally updating you. I finished King on Sunday, right as I was falling asleep, which was great. I loved that book so much. That man's a psychopath for his girl, and that seems to be the theme of the Alliance series. I'm in the middle of rereading Dom right now, and I forgot how unhinged that man was for Val. So good. If you haven't read the series but you thought about it, 10 out of 10 recommend. So that's it. That's the reading vlog. Thanks for having me back. It was so fun doing this. Can't wait to film another one. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Give this video a like, subscribe, thumbs up, all those fun YouTubey things. And I will see you in another video soon.